All right, let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. But this isn't just a story about football. It goes way beyond the goals and the trophies. This is a story about sheer raw willpower, about facing odds that would have absolutely crushed most people. It's about how someone endures and, in doing so, becomes a legend.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, right? We all see the incredible highlights, the celebrations, the guy lifting trophies. But what we don't always see is what's behind it all. The pain, the sacrifice. That's the real story, and that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
So that brings us to the big question. I mean, how does a kid from a small, poor island become one of the greatest athletes of all time? Seriously, think about that. How does that even happen? Well, let's trace that journey and see if we can figure it out.
Okay, so our story kicks off on this little island in Portugal called Madeira. And yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, like a paradise. But for a young Cristiano Ronaldo, it was also a kind of prison, a place with some serious limitations.
Just look at this contrast. It's so stark. His reality, a poor family, a tiny home, basically no toys or comforts. But then you look at his dream, and it wasn't even about being famous or rich back then. It was way more fundamental. It was about escape. It was about hope. It was about just having a future. For him, football wasn't a hobby. It was his only ticket out.
And, it wasn't just about money. The challenges were personal, too. When he finally got his shot and moved to the mainland, he was a total outsider. The other kids made fun of his accent. They bullied him for being so skinny. They called him a crybaby because he was so emotional, that same passion we see on the field today. Even his own teacher told him to give up, that football would never earn him a living. Can you imagine?
And what was his response to all that? This. He made a promise, not just to them, but to himself. And this wasn't just some kid talking big. No, this became the mission statement for his entire life. He figured out how to take every single insult, every bit of doubt, and turn it into fuel.
So just when you think he's starting to get somewhere, making a name for himself, bam, life throws a massive curveball his way. And this wasn't just another setback. This was something that could have ended his dream right then and there.
Think about it. He's only 15 years old. He's finally made it to a professional academy. And then this happens. A diagnosis that's completely out of the blue. It's not a broken leg from a bad tackle. It's something way, way more serious.
The doctors told him he had a racing heart condition. Now, for anyone, that's scary stuff. But for an elite athlete, someone whose entire job relies on having a world-class heart and lungs, it's basically a career death sentence. The doctors are telling you that your dream could literally kill you.
But his response was just, wow. No hesitation, no feeling sorry for himself. He gets the diagnosis, he has the risky heart surgery, and then, get this, he's back training on the pitch just a few weeks later. Weeks! The level of courage and pure determination from a 15-year-old kid, it's just mind-blowing. So he beats the health scare and his career just takes off like a rocket. But you know how these stories go. Just as he's reaching these incredible new heights professionally, he gets hit with the most painful personal challenge he'd ever face.
I mean, look at this timeline. The dream is happening. He gets signed by Sporting CP. Then he makes the huge move to Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs on the planet. He's literally on top of the world. And right then, at the peak of his triumph, tragedy hits. His father dies.
And this quote, it's just heartbreaking, isn't it? It shows you the real pain behind all that success. He's got all the trophies, all the goals, all the fame, but the one person he was doing it all for never got to see him reach the top. That's a kind of pain that money and fame can't ever touch.
And this is where we see the central theme of his life pop up again. Just like with the bullies, just like with the heart condition, he took this unbelievable grief and turned it into fuel. It didn't break him, it didn't slow him down, it became another reason to push even harder, to become even greater, to build a legacy that would make his father proud.
Okay, so this brings us to the final stage of his transformation. He's got the talent, he's got the motivation, now it's time to build the machine.
It's so easy to just label a guy like him as gifted. But that word, it kind of misses the whole point, doesn't it? His success wasn't a gift he was handed. It was something he built, piece by piece, through fire and endless repetition. He is the textbook definition of self-made.
So how'd he do it? Well, his work ethic is the stuff of legends. We're talking about the guy who was always the first one at training and the absolute last one to leave. He has this incredibly strict diet, a total obsession with fitness, and this unwavering day-in, day-out discipline that literally turned his body into a high-performance machine.
And the results? Well, they speak for themselves, don't they? This wasn't a one-time thing. He became a hero at Manchester United, he became an icon, a legend at Real Madrid. He even brought a European championship home to Portugal. Everywhere he went, he conquered.
Look, if there's one single takeaway from his whole story, it's this quote right here. This is his entire philosophy in a nutshell. He knew he had talent, for sure, but he also knew, deep down, that talent is useless if you don't work hard. And he worked harder than everyone.
So in the end, his story really just leaves us with a question for ourselves. Because life is going to test every single one of us. There's no doubt about it. People will doubt you, you're going to face setbacks, you're going to face pain. The question his life forces us to ask is, when that stuff happens to you, how are you going to respond?